I'm David Hoffman. I founded Sagas, and I've been interviewing all my life. That's 40 years of filmmaking. That's thousands of people, 5 presidents and all kinds of other famous people. But the people that really touch me are the ordinary people, just folks who have in them stories to tell about their past, their present, and their dreams for the future. And I have never done an interview, and certainly the demos done for Sagas, that hasn't been extraordinary. I don't go home and tell my wife, God, do you know who I spoke with today and what they said? That's a common occurrence, and it's true for all of us who've been doing these interviews. There's nothing that doesn't touch you. So these are ordinary people, as you all know, with extraordinary stories, and your job as the interviewer is to bring them out and let them talk. Will they say everything they think? No. Does a tape have to contain everything? No. It just has to be a moment in time. You've captured a day in the life of, when people can tell their, really in some cases, what they've been waiting to tell all their lives. What you are about to see is a videotape that we made for you, our videographers. And there's so much to cover, and we want to give you a sense of what a Sagas interview video is all about. And my team is here with me. I have Andrew, and I have JJ, and I have Rebecca, and we're the ones who founded Sagas, and we're the ones you speak with in the office and via email. And we want you to know what it's like so that you feel confident when you go out and you do your interview. And there's a lot to say. You don't have to watch it all, but there's a section that we call the required, and that is, what is a Sagas interview? We use the word interview, we use the word dialogue, we use the word conversation. You all know they're not the same. So what do we really mean? An interview has a formality to it, and that's wrong. A dialogue has a, we care about both parties equally, your opinion, my opinion, and that's wrong. A conversation is casual, and that's wrong. What advice can we give you about what we really mean? What we really mean is this. One person is the star, the person in front of the camera. They are the jewel. They carry in them stories, tales, experiences we want you to capture. You have got to capture. The other person is you. You're aiding them in that expression that they don't even know that they should say right now. They haven't thought about it in advance. There's been no question list given. So your goal in dialoguing is to be the director behind the scenes. When they're going strong and the story hasn't been told, let them go. When they've said it, and they're just saying more because they don't know what you want them to say. They really don't. Should I go on? Then stop them. Interrupt is fine. But sticking on a point is wrong. If they've got it, they've said it, and there's nothing else to say really about that. It's just to repeat, lead them somewhere else. Help them. I'll tell you why everybody that I've interviewed so far is comfortable, because I'm not really concerned about comfortable as an issue. I step in the door. Hello, I'm David Hoffman. I'm the cameraman who John Jones has asked me to spend an hour talking with you. Oh, I'm very nervous. Oh, don't worry. I put up my tripod. I set the chair. We're going to tell you about that in a minute from a technical perspective. I sit down and I say, so, where are we? It started. Comfort is instant because I'm an individual they have never met. This is the best example I can give you all. Be at the airport when the plane is delayed and you're sitting next to a person who wants to chat. You all know this experience. We all do. More things are said in that time before that plane takes off an hour later than you would ever get the chance to say in normal life. And oftentimes people are saying things they've said to no one else. I've heard my best stories when the plane is late. I've always wanted to have the camera rolling. In fact, I wished I had cameras as my glasses so that I could record these kind of mild conversations. Don't worry about getting someone comfortable. Be comfortable yourself. By your comfort and your curiosity, and every one of you is curious, or you wouldn't be a Sagas video interviewer, you will make the subject comfortable, and it won't be a problem. And if they're nervous, it's not the worst thing in the world. Nervousness can be good. It can increase intensity and make people stutter or rethink what they're saying, which is fine. Mistakes are fine. Resaid sentences, let me say that again, is great. You want both in a Sagas video interview. This is not an edited program. This is a moment in time, 1 hour in a person's life, chatting with a person they don't know.
David, if I'm an interviewer and I go to do it to set up a demo, and the subject tells me, I don't think I need to be interviewed, I have nothing interesting to say, why would anyone want to interview me? What should I tell the person?
My experience is that everybody says that. Everybody has nothing to say they. The question is, can you get them to talk about it? Their early life, the people they remember, their failures. It's so easy for people to talk about their failures and nobody ever asks. Their successes, of course, their perceptions of themselves. My experience is that people are waiting to tell their stories, and although they have nothing to say, the second you say, don't worry, just tell me about your first car, they're off and running. There has never been a case where that hasn't happened. Tell me the person who has nothing to say. I'd like to interview that person. That probably doesn't exist. There is a almost certain good way to start, and that is, your uncle has asked me to talk with you. I know he did. I wish he hadn't, says the customer, says the subject. No, really. He's done this because he wants to give it to his children. He wants to give it to his friend. He wants to give it to somebody else. He wants it for himself. Oh. So let me start by asking you what would mean the most to him. Do you know him? And what do you think of him? That's the first thing I'd ask always is, the guy who hired us asked us to film me. Well, please don't film me. I wish he hadn't done it. That's, you're almost certainly going to get that. Although oddly enough, I find this time and again, people say that they don't know why they're being asked to talk, but inside themselves, they know why. They think they're fascinating. They think people haven't been paying enough attention to them. There is a really good study that you can all use, and that is when people are ill and family members ask them to tell their story, like on video, they get better. They feel healthier. They're stronger. They feel loved. They feel cared about. So people are waiting to tell these stories. Breaking the ice, I just say, somebody's asked me to do this. What do you think of those people?
Let's talk about types of questions that you tend to ask. Do you ask questions about thoughts, about feelings, about what are some good questions to ask anytime?
Rebecca's just asked a question that she's probably asked a lot by you folks, which is good questions. There is no such thing. Think who you are. That's all you've got to do. Think how you feel during this if you are being the customer or the customer's people. That's all. I don't have good questions, but I am the customer. If the customer has hired me to do a videotape that helps someone else in life who has a father who's ill, and I'm taping the father, for the customer who is a friend or a relative, that's who I am. I'm thinking to myself, how can I help that young person to get something from this? And I listen. Oh, that's touching. Oh, you're a hero in my eyes. Don't think about a line of questions. Just be in reaction yourself. You don't have to be a genius. No one's going to criticize you on our side, as long as you have gotten a moment in time, priceless and valuable for the customer. What to avoid? Be careful about the things that everybody tells everybody to avoid on television, politics and religion, because those can go on forever. And will they mean anything in the future? I'm not sure people will even know who the president is now, 70 years from now. Religion can mean something because it's spiritual, but you can also spend the whole hour talking about that and not get to the essence of what the video needs to be. A moment in time, capturing a human who other humans will want to see. Ask the difficult questions. This is the only chance you'll have to speak with this person. You'll never see them again, chances are, unless our customer hires you to go back and do another one. We're new as a company and we're a startup, so we don't know that that's going to happen, but assuming that that doesn't happen, this is it. This is the only video that'll ever be done on this person for this customer. Ask the tough questions. There's two things that allow me to judge a good story. First of all, I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious, and hopefully all of you are, or you wouldn't be doing this job. Curiosity is what's driving me. Like, why, what, who? And I'm fascinated by answers. And the second basis for selecting what you want to stick with is be the customer. The customer is somebody who has hired you to capture somebody else for some purpose, which hopefully, at least 50% of the time, they've told you in a questionnaire. If you know absolutely nothing, you're going to have to guess, well, this is your uncle, or this is your friend from school, or this is for a baby that's just been born. So you can guess. All you need to know is that. Be the customer.
How do you get those specific sensory details and emotional details that really paint a picture or transport the viewer and the subject themselves back to that moment in time that they're describing?
The perfect interview isn't about facts, because for the most part, facts don't matter. Did it happen in 1975 or did it happen in 2002? Not so important. They're not about places specifically. Did it happen on Watson Street or Union Street? Does anybody really care? What makes these interviews work is the depth of philosophy, of soul, of concern, of irony, of lightness. So it's not about a perfect question, because the question can be filled with stutters. You can say, I don't know if this is a good question, but did your husband hit the kids? That's a good question. And you can say it with all that uncertainty. Is this a good question? Because all you really care about is drawing out the answer. And the answer can be subtle and filled with complexity. This is not the 24-second soundbite. We're not editing. This is the evolution of a conversation in which a person can easily say, like I said before, well, really, I want to change that, because it's running as a piece. We've made a list. Let's start with the tripod. We've advised on the site, JJ's found it's a $40 tripod.
Yeah.
It's good enough, because the tripod isn't doing anything but holding the camera at slightly higher than eye contact. The camera that's filming me right now is looking down at me. That's a complimentary position, as many of you know. Shooting up at somebody makes them look double-chinned. It's not as good. So the camera's slightly higher than eye contact. The camera's on the tripod's steady. What kind of camera? Well, I have here this Canon $225 off eBay. It's good enough because there's no zooming, because it's got a mic input. I can plug in my lavalier microphone. I also have this $2,000 camera, now old. I don't know I think on eBay this now sells for something like $1,300. And some of you have much better cameras than mine. It's nice. We love HD. Why not? But you don't need it. You need a basic camera, a basic tripod, slightly higher than the eye, set about 8 feet away if you can get 8 feet. If you can't, well, you can't, but I'm hoping for 8 feet. You set your tripod, you run your lavalier microphone. I have two here. The one that we generally use is this thing, which has a little bit of gaffer tape because I don't like rattle. Notice the mic is outside the shirt only because I don't want rattle. I don't want that horrible clothing rattle. And we run a wire right to the camera using a mini plug. We make sure that the wire is such that there's not a lot of rattle on the mic. The mic is set like this. If there's two people, I tend to use this $29 Sony, this one, which has two mics. It's a stereo, and I put it right there so that the mic picks up that person and me. Don't put the mic here because one person will be loud and the other person will be soft, or use two lavaliers. You don't really need two lavaliers. You plug in the camera and you do a couple of very basic things. You open up the eyepiece, or is this called the, whatever this is? And my ideal position is like this. I am sitting behind the camera. One eye sees you. The other eye sees the screen when I need it to, so I can go like that. I can watch the fact that I am rolling tape, and it is indeed recording. Nothing is worse than you never push the record button. The second worst thing is you don't see a volume indicating the mic is not operating, or it's distorting like crazy. Remember, set the sound in the mic at manual. Do not use the automatic volume control. Try to make certain you are on the left channel and the right channel, even with a mono microphone. It's not critical, but it helps us a lot. Make certain that you are rolling tape. Boy, those things can be horrible, right? And I do something that any professional wise does, which is I cut the second ear off this thing. So although it's a stereo mic, I plug it in and I have one ear that's hearing the recording. I do that because sometimes the VU meter's there, but the mic sounds horrible. Nothing is worse to us than sound which is not recorded or which is distorted. I set the wire over to the subject, put in the wire, turn off the telephone if you can, turn off the loud refrigerator motor if it's killing you. Usually it isn't, certainly the fan. It's not critical that there be no background sound, but an irritating background sound like a whistle from the guy mowing the lawn outside, ask him to stop mowing the lawn. Those are doable things. A good question we've been plagued by is, should the mic pick up the interviewer? When it doesn't pick up the interviewer at all, it sounds wrong. The person's answering a question you haven't heard. When I am confronted with that situation, I talk up. I make sure, like the person's deaf, so I make sure I'm recorded on the mic. In the ideal world, you would have two lavaliers, or you would have another mic, an ambient mic, and some of you are good enough to do that. We like contrast. Set the person sideways to the light source. If it is daytime hours, that's a window. There'll be enough light on the other side usually to see the face, but to have contrast. Nighttime, do the same with incandescent bulbs. You set the main key light on one side, the lamp, and some light on the other side so it's not too contrasty. Sure, you can use lights, but there's no need for lights. That's not the purpose. The lighting isn't generally better than incandescent light.
What about on a cloudy day when there's clouds passing in front of the sun and the light's changing? How do you deal with that?
You have it. It's not the best. I try to avoid it by using curtain. I'd be pulling the curtain a little bit. I try to avoid that. The subject is sitting in a chair, comfortable chair, doesn't rattle like this one does. It's not a roller, not a rocking chair, unless you're going for style, like it's a very, well, I remember. That's okay. You could do that, but for the most part, the sound is irritating. Remove from the background wall sufficiently so that you see the space. Imagine that the person's kind of in the middle of the room and you're in the corner. If you can't sit here, which is the ideal place for a variety of reasons, either you don't want to go nuts looking your eyes bouncing, or the person's a little nervous, I sit here. I'm going to show you where I'm sitting. Alongside the camera, the lens is right by my head. I know eye contact is close. I'm not in front of the lens, so my hair is in the eyepiece, which I can't see. I can't tell, but I do have my earpiece in, so I'm checking sound. I'm sitting right like this, and that's also good. Don't sit like that. That's too far away, and the eye contact is too far off. Kind of more looks like a television interview.
So that's on a tripod, then you're really cuddling the tripod.
I am.
From
I'm
where you're
sitting. My chair.
You've got
that's
the
right.
legs.
That's right. My chair is right on the tripod. The frame's been good about half of the time, and half of the time it's kind of a dummy frame, and it's probably my fault for not being clear enough. So let me be absolutely clear about the frame. The top of the frame is here. We don't care about what's up there. It's air. It's irrelevant. That's the top. The bottom of the frame is wherever hands most likely talk. Most people talk here, so it's above the belt. That's the bottom of the frame. Don't go wider than you need to. Don't go tighter than allows those hands. And when you're doing the interview, I find, sit in. Don't sit back. Try to have a chair where the subject doesn't sit back. There's something different about that. This is the two of us. I'm in. I'm talking with you. Wow. I'm in. I'm talking with you. Wow. Different feeling. It's like what they say about television and the computer. People sit into the computer. They sit back when they're watching TV. It's a different state of mind. You who are watching this video, our team, our group, our community, that's growing very quickly with thorough professionals and others who love interviews, I thank you for being part of Sagas. It means a tremendous amount to us because we need your support and we need your skills and we need your talent and your energy. And also because I think that Sagas contribute something meaningful to the nation, to individuals, to families, to community. I believe that, and so do my partners, so do all of us.